In a season of dominant wins, blowout wins, games that you've had in hand before the fourth quarter has even begun, the Seattle Seahawks added another one to the top of the heap this past Sunday with a dominant win on the road against the Atlanta Falcons, 37-9. It was a game that, I'm not going to lie, had many of us Seahawks fans a little nervous at halftime as the game was tied 6-6, and the team, at least on the offensive side of the ball, still seemed like they might be sleepwalking through things, but they woke the hell up in the second half, taking firm control, quite literal control in the very first play of that second half, and they never looked back, throwing 31 points up on the board. The fourth time this season that they put 40 on the scoreboard in one half. To put this in perspective, if you take all of the NFL throughout all of this 2025 season, it's only happened 6 times, teams scoring 30 points in a given half. Pretty impressive. The team also climbs up to 10 wins on the year, which makes Mike Macdonald the very first coach in NFL history to have 10 wins in his first 2 seasons as a head coach. If you're not sold on this guy already, I don't know what the hell it's going to take for you. And so the Seattle Seahawks able to get this win, and it was a win that had many of the same kind of characteristics that we've seen throughout the course of this season. A high-level, defensive-driven approach, maybe the best special teams unit in all of football, and an explosive offense, if at times a little bit uneven. And this was done with the Seattle Seahawks walking into this game knowing that they were going to need to stop the run. Bijan Robinson is a monster, of course, but they were down Drake London, down Michael Penix at quarterback, old Kirk Cousins coming out there trying to carry the day. And so you knew that they were going to want to lean heavily on Bijan Robinson. And indeed, they ran the ball and ran the ball a lot. They kept running it even when they were down multiple scores in that second half with him and Tyler Algiers. But Tyler Algiers was able to do nothing on the game, averaged about 3.1 yards per carry. And Bijan, despite 22 carries in this game, was still held to 83 yards, making this the 22nd game in a row that the Seattle Seahawks have not allowed a 100-yard rusher. So very important because this team tends to run out light boxes week after week, 6-man fronts. Those guys have to really hold up in their gap integrity. Everybody's got to tackle really well because that 6-man box, that light box can go to hell really fast if those guys aren't doing their job. But everybody was to a man once again. And like I've said throughout so many times this year, once again, there are so many people on defense that we have to kind of pluck out and say, wow, what a great game from you. Wow, what a great game from you. I think first and foremost, you got to give the flowers out to Nick Emanwari out the jump here. Nick was sensational in this game. All of the promise that you would hope for on draft day, all of the promise of a hopeful ceiling that you could see a full meal deal type of game from him. But maybe you'd have to wait a couple of years to get there. That's not what's happened with him, is it? We've gotten this right off the bat, as this guy from day one has been impactful from that slot role, basically, slot, linebacker, safety role, whatever you want to call it, the Kyle Hamilton role within this defense, and you feel his presence all over the football field, whether it be in coverage, whether it be in going and getting a tackle for a loss, or whether it's out there in this game getting interceptions, or indeed even blocking kicks. Big play in this game was when the Falcons were trying to get some life going in this game. They were having a field goal attempt after the Seahawks offense had put them on a short field, and Emanwari was able to burn off that edge, get back there and block the kick. As he said himself in the post-game presser, he's been close a couple of different times, but is able actually to reach it on this one, get that block, keep this score shrunken down a little bit to give the offense the time to find their footing and then finally get off the ground. But Emanwari was sensational in this game. You can feel his size, you can feel his speed, you can feel the full roundness of what he brings in his game to the table and how it's a perfect fit to take this kind of player, the Swiss Army knife kind of player, is so very beneficial to this defense and giving Mike that weapon because he will know how to use it. Some coaches might not know how to take a guy like this and put him in the right places to find success or utilize him to the utmost. Mike Macdonald certainly will. He has shown that many times before. Devin Witherspoon is a guy many in the Hawk fan base has wondered about. When is he going to get that statistical uptick? When are we going to feel him getting picks and interceptions? Because you can feel his presence on the field. You can feel him as a tackler. And Mike Macdonald talked about in his press conference earlier this week about Devin Witherspoon setting the table really well here for Devin this week as he finally did get his first interception and caused another one. And that you may not get the stats, the pretty stats with Devin Witherspoon, but he is a grade A football player. This is a guy that not only can help you win football games, but can be a centerpiece for when you're looking back and saying how we won a Super Bowl championship. It's with guys like this. He is impactful. He's found a great home out there on the outside as an outside corner with Emanwari sliding into the slot there. And today he made a great play where you see first and foremost, it looks like the Seahawks are bringing a blitz. Now, I don't know for sure whether or not they were truly bringing a blitz. And then they saw Kirk Cousins audible and then they pulled out of the blitz, which is what it looked like Witherspoon was doing because he looked like he kind of showed the hand on his blitz a little bit early. You saw Cousins go to his head tap and then you saw him dropping back out post snap, but he had sold the blitz to Cousins. Now, if it was just a mock job and they were just selling the mock blitz, which is kind of what Witherspoon Witherspoon inferred in the post-game presser, all the much better because you faked out Cousin to go to the bubble screen call on the audible. So not only forcing the audible call with that blitz look, but then peeling out of that, tipping the ball up, ball gets tipped up again by Derek Hall, and then having the wherewithal to pluck the ball out of the air. A sensational play. Really, you want a play that encapsulates all that Witherspoon is as a player, that brings everything into play, the ferociousness, the tenacity, the get after it spirit, all right there in that play, really takes a snapshot of it in a major way. He came back later on, giving you another one, tight end coverage, tipping the ball up. He did this last year, remember, on McCaffrey, was tight end coverage with him, tipped it up for Hankins to get an interception. Did so again in this game, allowing Emanwari to go get his first pick of the year. Witherspoon was, again, great all over the place in this game as a tackler, feeling him in the run game, just a guy that's going to rally up in space and always be so sure when he does so more often than not, despite the fact he's not the biggest of guys. Ernest Jones led the way for the Seahawks with 11 tackles, as he normally does, and the Seahawks were unable to actually get any sacks today outside of Emanwari getting the only one on the day. And oh, by the way, got a sack in addition to his interception, in addition to his block kick, in addition to the TFLs, in addition to all the tackles. He is the full meal deal as a player. And it's not for a lack of effort them getting a sack. The pressure was there, but Kirk Cousins does seem like he's reached that elder statesman phase where he says, I'm really old. There's nothing on the line in this current season. Anytime they even blow any pressure on me, I think I'm just going to throw it. And maybe it's going to be to the receiver, maybe it's the receiver's feet, maybe it's 15 yards over the receiver's head, but we're just not going to take a lot of extra hits today because why? And indeed, he was very careful in how he was able to get the ball when there was any heat coming down his back, and that did lead to a lot of incompletions. Cousins on the day, only a 50% completion percentage at that, at 15 of 30. You kept him caged up. The passing attack had no one to throw to aside from Pitts, who actually had a pretty respectable day-to-day for the Atlanta Falcons. But that was really the only guy that they could go to aside from the running backs in this offense, is they just didn't have anything that they could really toss at you. It's been a tough season for the Falcons, and you felt that from them offensively, but defensively as well. You gave them no hope. You took it away early, and you had them by that second half knowing that there was nowhere to go. There was no offense to be had. There was no big plays to be had down the field. Love came back and was good, working in with Ty Akata in that nice rotation at safety. Good to have Love back in tow. Jaron Reed also making a return, and he of the clubbed hand, how much he does help out the rotations now, and hopefully relieving a little bit of the snap counts that we've seen at times here on Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams lately, as there have been games where they have to kind of carry that bigger load with it being a little bit lighter at the defensive tackle position. The edges in all played pretty well. As I said, a variety of them created pretty good pressure at certain times. A Mafe, a Hall, DeMarcus Lawrence. It's just that Cousins was getting that thing out of his hand and saying, hell to the no. Do I want these big monsters hitting me and hurting me? I'm old, it hurts. Beyond the individuals, the collective of this defense is playing at a level that's as high as we have ever seen here in Seattle. And yes, I would include the Legion of Boom years. These guys, one to a man, are completely bought into this system in whole. They are flying around. You see that they seem to be improving bit by bit, little by little, every single week. And it's amazing to watch as you go, man, there's even another level here, as the players themselves have talked about, and multiple of them will have in press conferences, like, yeah, it's good now, but we do feel like we still got another level that we can give you. And that is what we're seeing playing out in reality. Does it mean that it's going to ultimately get to a championship state? I don't know, but it's looking a lot like a championship defense to me. But when we flip over to the offensive side of the ball, I think that's going to be the question that's still in tow for many people as we come out the end of this game. As good as the record is, as much as many of the Hawk fans are wondering about how truly good this team is beyond just their record. And the offense gave you the kind of day that's been very similar in fashion to times during the season. Hyper explosive in states, but at times a little bit frustratingly maddening. And Sam Darnold, you have another very highly efficient day. Throws for 250 yards, 8 yards an attempt, 3 touchdowns, 111 quarterback rating. He found a good efficiency to the day. The first half was a little bit rough. Had another interception, giving the offense of the opposition a short field to play with this mighty defense. You got to play to protecting this defense a little bit. And Sam on that throw once again showed all of the hallmarks of the things that have been problematic in his game when this occurs. He's rolling to his left. It's a little bit late in the play. He's having some time to think about this. He's got some options to throw it away or use his legs. Instead, he's trying to force the ball into tight coverage. Now, McDonald talked about it in the press conference that that's a contested catch situation, and Elijah Arroyo probably has to do more to make a better effort to go get that ball. But it's still just a throw, given the way that this has gone at times this season, where I think Sam is better suited to take one of those other two options, being to throw it away or to run it. Now, the nice part is, as I've said with this and Sam and some of the criticism that's out there, is that this stuff is correctable. And in recent weeks, we've seen him doing a little bit more of working those throws out to the flat, finding some of those more security options, not everything being got to force the ball down the field as well. Use your legs at times, and that's what you got from Sam. 3 carries in this game, 23 yards, nice big scramble just before the end of half to go get yourself up the field, to get yourself in the position to get the field goal. So he's also using a little bit of those legs, and if he does that, I think he will find effectiveness. He'll find some free first downs there because so many defenses, I think, just don't think he is going to run. Sam played a really good game. Jackson Smith-Njigba had another one of his really great games, 90 yards, couple touchdown receptions. It says something about the season he's had that he's got a 90 yards of receiving and 2 touchdowns here, and he's somehow knocked off his record-breaking pace just a little bit more, despite the grade A day going up against A.J. Terrell, one of your better cornerbacks in this sport, a guy who I believe coming into this game hadn't given up a touchdown reception all season long, and he gave up 2 of them to Jackson Smith-Njigba. Both Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet ran the ball really well. It's a little bit more of Charbonnet's day to have the better yard per carry average, but I think Walker also had some good runs around that as well. Wasn't always as many of the holes I thought would be in play against this Atlanta Falcon front. I thought they did a good job of defending the run. Seattle also leaned a little bit more than I thought in this game with the passing attack into throwing the ball and staying committed to that, and at times even being committed to pushing the ball down the field as a way to counter that high blitz approach from the Atlanta Falcons. And at the end of the day, it was able to work. The thing with a high blitz team like a Falcons team or a Vikings team, Vikings do this I think a bit better than the Falcons do, but they might get you for a quarter or 2, but there's sometimes going to be a price to be paid for all that blitzing, for all that risk you put on the back end, namely a lot of big plays. And when you look at the rushing attack, individual guys from Sharps to Walker to some of the plays you're able to hit down the field here, a lot of chunk plays in this game from the Seahawks attack. Able also to take advantage of a little bit of the sloppy nature of what's going on with the Falcons on both sides of the ball. There were some offsides from the defense in this game, which really did stand out and helped you in a couple of key moments. Some was bad penalties from them on the defensive side of the ball. Some of that you heard from them from, as far as reputational wise coming into this game did play out and was true. The other receivers in the offense played really well. Cooper Kupp was solid, only had a couple catches, but again, you give him the opportunities. He sure does seem to make the most of it. Had a touchdown reception, had another nice catch and run. Rashid Shaheed, for the first time, got really acclimated in this offense, and not in a forcing it to him kind of way, but in a patient way, just letting the game come to him. Really showed off the speed on a crosser route, and then he was also, of course, able to house the kick, but Shaheed really just finding his counterbalance in this offense to JSN is so really nicely effective. A day like this is kind of the ideal where you can have a kind of sub 100-yard day from JSN. You get kind of the 60, 70 yards from him, maybe another 30, 40 yards from Cooper Kupp. That's an offense that's able to really disperse the ball to a variety of different areas, intermixed with that rushing attack that's always going to be balanced. Kind of a blueprint for the ideal approach to going out there and beating teams on every given week if they can possibly pull it off. But the offense did their part. Wasn't without some bumpiness in that first half. I'm not giving all the blame here to Colin Kubiak. There's some other stuff here at play too. The team was just kind of feeling like they were sort of waking up like it was a true old school 10 a.m. game. But it's also a little bit of an odd attack to begin things in this game. For instance, you decide to throw the ball the first 3 plays of the game. Now, by third down, you kind of had to, but kind of odd you came right out the gate with that when you thought running the ball might be a little bit more at the forefront of what they try to do against that Atlanta team, where that Atlanta defense can be a little bit weak. But good job, good effort by the offense. If you end up posting the points they end up posting, bottom line, that gets the job done with this defense, and it did again today. Special teams unit again showed why they're probably the best special teams unit in all of football. You got it first off, Jason Myers hitting all of his kicks. That first half, things are tight. As I said, those 3 points felt very valuable. Yes, you ran away with this game, but getting those kicks secured, hitting another deep kick here this season, he's really turned a year around that started out a little bit tough. He has found his footing, no pun intended, and he's been able to be real clutch here for the Seattle Seahawks, doing a hell of a job here for the team. And then you have the start of the second half. It's tied 6-6. You're getting the kickoff. Reported by the players, and multiple players are reporting this, Mike McDonald called his shot at halftime. He looked over at the fellas and he said, "Gentlemen," channeling his inner Al Pacino from Any Given Sunday, I got to fight. I got a claw, I got a scratch. And he said, "Shaheed, you're going to return the ball for touchdown. Halftime, over, you do it now." Sure enough, Rashid came out after halftime, took that kick back. You got to feel his speed. You took that touchdown, And it really felt like that was the last chance there for the Falcons in this game. It was like that was their last gasp. Yes, it was just merely you going up by 7 points, but you knew that was going to give the fuel that the defense needed at that point to just shut things down, give them some room for error, allow them to get a little bit tricky, a little bit risky here with that Falcon offense. But the special teams unit again comes in and supplies a couple of big plays here in this game. The blocked kick, the kick return touchdown. You got Myers making his kick. You got Dixon punting unbelievably. They have been the best special teams unit in all of football. And it may be something that just seems like, yeah, that's kind of pithy, or yeah, it matters, but it's like a little couple percentage points to the team versus the offense and the defense. You get to feel it in games like this, where you come into this game against Atlanta that might have arguably maybe the worst special teams unit in all of football. You've got arguably the best, and those collide, and you go, well, if special teams is of any value or measure, then in a game like this, we should see this disparity play out because it is so great. And I ask you, did it not? Special teams matters, and there's often times when you get into the playoffs, a lot of teams out there that can have great teams, but be missing a little bit on that special teams, and it can bite them on the ass. At 10-3, the Seahawks have a golden opportunity to truly control their fate. Not in the funky way that we've talked about it in recent years, where we've said at the end of the seasons, well, if they can just win out, if this team can lose and that team can lose, and if we can just get a tiebreaker over here, maybe we can backslide our way into the playoffs. No more of that garbage. Now you win out, you get out, and you've got the number 1 seed in the NFC. I told you last week that the Chicago Bears were going to lose, the former number 1 seed, that there was going to be an L on that tough schedule remaining. Indeed, there was, as they lost this past week to the Green Bay Packers. So now Seattle, if they can go 4-0 down the home stretch of this season, will be that number 1 seed. We'll have that first round bye. We'll have that home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Brothers and sisters, you want to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC? It's coming through Seattle. The last 3 times we've had that number 1 bye, it has meant a Super Bowl berth. So if you're not hyped up, if you're not already clocked in on this team, if you were thinking this was going to take until next year, that it was too early, well, the time might just be now. Mike Macdonald is the first coach in NFL history with 10 wins through his first 2 years. That's a mighty achievement. There's a reason no one else has got it done. Don't undersell this guy. Don't undersell this team. Anything is possible in this magical year where they just keep boat racing team after team and looking more dominant by the week. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all else, don't you ever forget. Go Hawks.